warm welcome in this video, that is the history of enzymology. Friends, life depends on a well-orchestrated series of chemical reactions. Many of these reactions, however, proceed too slowly on their own to sustain life. Hence, nature has designed catalysts, which we now refer to as enzymes, to greatly accelerate the rate of these chemical reactions. The catalytic power of enzymes facilitates life processes in essentially all life forms, from viruses to man. Many enzymes retain their catalytic potential after extraction from living organism, and it did not take long for mankind to recognize and exploit the catalytic power of enzymes for commercial purposes. In fact, the earliest known references to enzymes are from ancient texts dealing with the manufacture of cheese, breads, and alcoholic beverages, and for the tenderizing of meats. Today, enzyme continues to play key roles in many food and beverages manufacturing processes and are ingredients in numerous consumer products such as laundry detergents, which dissolves protein-based stains with the help of proteolytic enzymes. Enzymes are also of fundamental interest in the health sciences, since many disease processes can be linked to the aberrant activities of one or a few enzymes. Hence, much modern pharmaceutical research is based on the search for potent and specific inhibitors of these enzymes. We have divided the history of enzymology in 4 parts: enzymes in antiquity, early enzymology, mechanistic enzymology, and studies of enzyme structure. The first period, that is the enzymes in antiquity, deals with only the applications of enzymes. In the first, enzymes are not well recognized, but they were usually in the daily processes of mankind. In the early enzymology period, the enzymes were extracted from their source and characterized. The mechanistic enzymology describes the kinetics of enzymes, and the structural aspects by means of various technologies were studied by various scientists in detail. So all these aspects of enzymology we will going to see. So first, enzymes in antiquity. The oldest known reference to the commercial use of enzymes comes from a description of wine making in the Codex of Hammurabi. The use of microorganisms as enzyme sources for fermentation was widespread among ancient people. References to these processes can be found in writings not only from Babylon but also from the early civilizations of Rome, Greece, Egypt, China, and India. Ancient texts also contain a number of references to the related processes of vinegar production, which is based on the enzymatic conversion of alcohol to acetic acid. Vinegar, it appears, was a common staple of ancient life, being used not only for food storage and preparation but also for medicinal purposes. Dairy products were another important food source in ancient societies, because in those days fresh milk could not be stored for any reasonable length of time. The conversion of milk to cheese became a vital part of food production, making it possible for the farmer to bring his product to distant markets in acceptable form. Cheese is prepared by curdling milk via the action of any of number of enzymes. The substances most commonly used for this purpose in ancient times were piscine, obtained as an extract from pig, and rennin as rennet, an extract of linings of the forestomach of a multiple stomach animal such as cow. A reference to the enzymatic activity of piscine can in fact be found in Homer's. The philosopher Aristotle likewise wrote several times about the process of the milk curdling and offered the following hypothesis for the action of rennet is as follows. Rennet is a sort of milk. It is formed in the stomach of young animals while still being suckled. Rennet is thus milk which contains fire, which comes from the heat of the animal while the milk is undergoing concoction. Another food staple throughout the age is bread. The leavening of bread by yeast, which results from the enzymatic production of carbon dioxide, was well known and widely used in ancient times. The importance of this process to ancient society can hardly be overstated. Meat tenderizing is another enzyme-based process that has been used since antiquity. Inhabitants of many Pacific islands have known for centuries that the juice of the papaya fruit will soften even the toughest meats. The active enzymes in this plant extract is protease known to be papain, which is used even today in commercial meat tenderizers. When the British Navy began exploring the Pacific Islands in 17th, they encountered use of the papaya fruit as a meat tenderizer and as a treatment for ringworm. Reports of these native uses of the papaya sparked a great deal of interest in 18th century. The second part of history of enzymology is early enzymology. While the ancient made much practical use of enzymatic activities, these early applications were based purely on empirical observations and focus, rather than any systematic studies or appreciation for the chemical basis of the processes being utilized. In the 18th and 19th century, scientists began to study the actions of enzymes in more systematic fashion. The process of digestion seems to have been popular subject of investigation during the years of enlightenment. Wondering how predatory birds manage to digest meat without a gizzard, famous French scientist Reaumur performed some of the early studies on the digestion of buzzards. Reaumur designed a metal tube with a wire mesh at one end that would hold a small piece of meat immobilized to protect it from the physical action of the stomach tissue. He found that when a tube containing meat was inserted into the stomach of buzzard, the meat was digested within 24 hours. Thus, he concluded that digestion must be chemical rather than a merely physical process, since the meat in the tube had been digested by contact with the gastric juices. He tried the same experiment with the piece of bone and with a piece of plant. He found that while meat was digested and the bone was greatly softened by the action of the gastric juices, the plant material was impervious to the solvent. This was probably the first experimental demonstration of enzyme specificity. The Reaumur's work was expanded by Spallanzani, who showed that the digestion of meat encased in a metal tube took place in the stomach of a wide variety of animals, including humans. Using his own gastric juices, Spallanzani was able to perform digestion experiments of pieces of meat in vitro. These experiments illustrated some critical features of the active ingredients of gastric juice by means of control experiment in which meat treated with an equal amount of water did not undergo digestion. Spallanzani demonstrated the presence of specific active ingredients in gastric juice. He also showed that the process of digestion is a temperature dependent and that the time required for digestion is related to the amount of gastric juice applied to the meat. Finally, he demonstrated that the active ingredients in gastric juice is unstable outside the body. That is, its ability to digest meat varies with storage time. Today, we recognize all the foregoing properties as common features of enzymatic reactions. But in Spallanzani's days, these were novel and exciting findings. The same time period saw the discovery of enzyme activities in a large number of other biological systems. For example, a peroxidase from the horseradish was described and the action of alpha-malase in grain was observed. These early observations all pertain to materials crude extract from plants or animals that contain enzymatic activity. During the later part of 19th century, scientists began to attempt fractionation of these extracts to obtain the active ingredients in pure form. Pasteur carried out the fermentation of sugar with the help of Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast into the alcohol, and he concluded that an intact microorganism is responsible for the fermentation of sugar to alcohol. But in 1933, Liebeck opposed this statement and he stated that not only the intact organism but outside the body of microorganism the fermentation can be carried out. So there were two groups. One is of opinion of Pasteur and other of Liebeck. A dispute continued then for a long time of period. During the latter part of 19th century, scientists began to attempt fractionations of this extract to obtain the active ingredients in the pure form. For example, in 1897, Butner partially purified the enzyme lacase from tree sap, and Buchner, using the press juice from rehydrated dried yeast, demonstrated that alcoholic fermentations could be performed in the absence of living yeast cells. This leads to the end of disputes between Pasteur's opinion and the Liebig opinions. Buchner's report contained the interesting observations that the activity of the pressed juice diminished within 5 days of storage at ice temperatures. However, if juice was supplemented with cane sugar, the activity remained intact for up to 2 weeks in the icebox. This is probably the first report of now well-known phenomenon, the stabilization of enzymes by substrate. It was also during this period that Kuhn, studying catalysts in yeast extract, first coined the term enzyme. The word derives from the medieval Greek word enzyme, which relates to the process of leavening bread. Before this, the enzyme was known by the name ferment. The third part of enzyme history is mechanistic enzymology. As enzymes become available in pure form or partially pure form, scientists' attention turned to obtaining a better understanding of the details of the reaction mechanism catalyzed by the enzymes. The concept that the enzymes form complexes with their substrate molecules was first articulated in the late 19th century. It is during this period that Emil Fischer proposed the lock and key model for the stereochemical relationship between enzymes and their substrates. This model emerged as a result of a large body of experimental data on the stereospecificity of enzyme reactions. In the early 20th century, experimental evidences for the formation of enzyme-substrate complex as a reaction intermediate was reported. One of the earliest of these studies, reported by Brown in 1902, focused on the velocity of enzyme-catalyzed reactions. Brown made the insightful observations that unlike simple diffusion, limited chemical reactions in enzyme-catalyzed reactions, observations like this set the stage for the derivation of enzyme rate equations by mathematically modeling enzyme kinetics with the explicit involvement of an intermediate enzyme-substrate complex. In 1903, Victor Henry published the first successful mathematical model for describing enzyme kinetics. In 1913, in a much more widely read paper, Michaelis and Mentane expanded on the earlier work of Henry and re-derived the enzymes rate equation that today bears their names, the Michaelis-Mentane equation. The Michaelis-Mentane equation, or more correctly the Henry-Michaelis-Mentane equation, is cornerstone of much of the modern analysis of enzyme reaction mechanism. The question of how enzymes accelerate the rate of chemical reactions puzzled scientists until the development of transition state theory in the first half of the 20th century. In 1948, the famous physical chemist Louis Pauling suggested that enzymatic rate enhancement was achieved by stabilizing enzyme active site. This hypothesis, which was widely accepted, is supported by the experimental observation that enzyme binds very tightly to molecules designed to mimic the structure of the transition state of the catalyzed reactions. In 1950 and 1960, scientists re-examined the question of how enzymes achieve substrate specificity in light of the need for transition state stabilization by the enzyme active site. New hypotheses such as induced fit model of coastline emerged at this time to help rationalize the competing needs of substrate binding affinity and reaction rate enhancement by enzymes. During this time, scientists struggled to understand the observation that metabolic enzyme activities can be regulated by small molecules other than the substrates or direct products of an enzyme. Studies showed that indirect interactions between distinct binding sites within an enzyme molecule could occur even though these binding sites were quite distant from one another. In 1965, Monod, Wyman and Chang'e developed the theory of allosteric transitions to explain these observations. The fourth portion of History of Enzymology is dedicated to study of enzyme structure. One of the tenets of modern enzymology is that catalysis is intimately related to the molecular interactions that takes place between the substrate molecules and components of the enzyme molecule. The exact nature and sequence of these interactions defining per se catalytic mechanism. Hence, the applications of physical methods to illustrate the structure of enzyme has had a rich history and continues to be paramount importance today. Spectroscopic methods, X-ray crystallography, and more recently multidimensional NMR methods have all provided a wealth of structural insights on which theories of enzyme mechanism have been built. In the early part of the 20th century, X-ray crystallography became the premier method for solving the structures of small molecules. In 1926, James Sumner published the first crystallization of an enzyme, urease. Sumner's paper was a landmark contribution not only because it portended the successful application of X-ray diffraction for solving enzyme structure, but also because a detailed analysis allowed Sumner to show unequivocally that the crystals were composed of protein and that their dissolution in solvent led to enzyme activity. These observations were very important to the development of science of enzymology because they firmly established the protein composition of enzymes, a view that had not been widely accepted by Sumner's contemporaries. Sumner's crystallization of urease opened a floodgate and was quickly followed by reports of numerous other enzyme crystals. Within 20 years of Sumner's first paper, more than 130 enzyme crystals had been documented. It was not, however, until the 1950s that protein structure began to be solved through X-ray crystallography. In 1957, Kendry became the first to deduce from X-ray diffraction the entire three-dimensional structure of a protein, myoglobin. Soon after, the crystal structure of many proteins, including enzymes, were solved by these methods. Today, the structural insights gained from X-ray crystallography and multidimensional NMR studies are commonly used to elucidate the mechanistic details of enzyme catalysis and to design new ligands to bind at specific sites within the enzyme molecules. The deduction of three-dimensional structure from X-ray diffraction or NMR methods depends on knowledge of arrangement of amino acids along the polypeptide chain of the protein. This arrangement is known as amino acid sequence. To determine the amino acid sequence of a protein, the component amino acid must be hydrolyzed in sequential fashion from the polypeptide chain and identified by chemical or chromatographic analysis. Edmond and co-workers developed a method for sequential hydrolysis of amino acid from the N-terminus of polypeptide chain. In 1957, Sanger reported the first complete amino acid sequence of a protein, the hormone insulin, utilizing chemistry developed by the Edmond. In 1963, the first amino acid sequence of enzyme ribonuclease was reported. Earlier it was thought that enzymes are protein in nature. But Sidney Altman and Thomas R. Sage noted that some of the RNA acts as an enzyme. These enzymes also possess protein, but the protein region only gives the structural support. In 1960, Werner Erber postulates that there are some enzymes which splits nucleic acid at a specific site that are called as restriction endonuclease. In 1970, Daniel Nathans and Hamilton O. Smith discovered these restriction endonucleases. And for this discovery, all these three scientists were awarded with Nobel Prize in 1978. Now, the study of enzyme remains of a great importance to the scientific community and the society in general. We continue to utilize enzymes in many industrial applications. Moreover, enzymes are still in use their traditional roles in food and beverages manufacturing. In modern times, the role of enzymes in consumer products and in chemical manufacturing has expanded greatly. Thank you.